The Hard Shoulder on Newstalk.
With Nissan Subscribe and Drive. No deposit, no compromise, no fuss. Find out more at nissan.ie.
Now, big price hikes expected this winter in our electricity and gas bills. Electric Ireland, they're the latest to increase them. Conor Pope, Price Watch editor at the Irish Times, joins me now. Conor, huge amount of people listening to this show, I would wager, impacted 1.1 million electricity customers and 150,000 gas customers. How much are their bills going to go up?
Yeah, no, it's very bad news for these customers. Electric Ireland said it was going to increase residential electricity prices by 9.3% and gas prices by 7%. Now, those percentages don't really mean a whole lot. In terms of what it's going to mean to people, it'll probably add another €150 onto the average cost of heating and lighting your home over the course of the next 12 months. But that number has to be taken into context because it's the second price increase that Electric Ireland have rolled out since August. They rolled out a similar increase in August, which means that its customers will have to pay around €300 more a year for their utility costs compared to last year as a result of these price hikes. And the reality is that while it sounds like bad news, it could have been an awful lot worse because some utilities have actually increased their prices far more than Electric Ireland. And one of the reasons Electric Ireland has been able to temper the price increases has been because it's such a big company and it has had the capacity to hedge when it's buying fossil fuels and when it's buying gas. So it has a better capacity to hedge against future fluctuations in the market. So it is slightly more insulated, for want of a better word, against the price hikes than maybe some of the smaller companies are. But the reality is that this is just the latest in a long, long line of price increases, and there will be virtually nobody in the country who's unaffected by the rising cost of energy over the next 6, 7, 8, 9 months.
Do we know how much of a buffer Electric Ireland have? I mean, does there come a point if the energy crisis, that global energy crisis, or certainly the energy crisis in Europe continues to bite, that they'll have to increase them again?
Well, I think they'll probably be the best positioned not to increase them. And in fairness to them, they were slower out of the blocks when it came to the price increases than other providers. But it really does depend on what happens in the market. And one of the problems we have in this country is that a significant percentage of the market is still reliant on fossil fuels. And as you'll know, the fossil fuel market, oil, coal, gas, can be incredibly volatile. It can absolutely shoot up and then it can fall through the floor. And we're in a phase now where prices of those fossil fuels on the international markets have been climbing dramatically. In fact, the cost of wholesale gas, which Ireland and about 40% of what goes into our national grid is from gas, and that's gone up. The wholesale price of gas has gone up by 300% over the last since the start of the year, which is a phenomenal increase. So there's really not a whole lot that either Electric Ireland or any of the providers can do to protect themselves and ultimately to protect consumers against these price increases.
Is there value to be had in shopping around at the moment, or are there such large price increases across the board that you're going to get the same story everywhere?
Oh no, there's a huge amount of value to be found shopping around. And and that's the message that we need listeners to understand. If you've never shopped around before, if you've just thought, oh, it's just too much hassle, this is the year to do it. And a huge percentage of the Irish market don't shop around. Now, the reality is that if you haven't switched provider for a couple of years and you did switch from company A to company B, you will save yourself anywhere between €400 and €600 a year, which largely offsets the price increases that the companies have been rolling out. And the way it works is fairly straightforward, because people might think, well, if every company is increasing their prices, sure, what's the point in shopping around? Because I'm going to go from company A that's increased its prices to company B that's increased its prices. But what happens is that all of the companies reward new customers by offering them a substantial discount on the standard rate of electricity. So if, let's say, the standard rate is €10, you might get a 30% discount by switching to a new company, and that discounted rate will last for a year. So you switch from company A to company B, you could save yourself 30% off their standard rate. Now, the problem with the standard rate is it's not standard across the board. So you have to be careful of that. And that's just something that people need to bear in mind, that, Company A's standard rate might be €10 a unit. Company B's standard rate might be €12 a unit. So, you might seem like you're getting a bigger discount by going for the discount that's 40%, but actually you might be saving money by going for a different operator. And that's where the likes of bonkers.ie, switcher.ie come into play, because these are, utility switching companies, and they do allow people to ascertain what is the best value for their particular needs on the market.
And if Electric Ireland, as you say, have this buffer, they've been able to hedge against these price increases. For customers of other utility providers, might there be more increases on the way despite big hikes already?
It's, I was speaking to an industry expert earlier on, and I put that very question to them, and they rightly said trying to second guess what happens in the energy market is a bit like trying to second guess what happens in the property market. Like, it's just so hard to say. But, yes is the short answer. I would say that it is likely, given that we're in this kind of perfect storm of COVID coupled with long-term supply issues and short-term maintenance issues. Like, the months ahead are going to be tough. And the bottom line is that the utility providers, if they're feeling the pinch, they're going to pass the pain on to consumers, which is just the nature of business, I suppose. And
there'll be an intoxicating political argument to be made, you'd imagine, if prices keep increasing, that we should place a cap on them like they have in the UK. There are drawbacks to that, aren't there?
Do you know what? There really are. And the reality is that I can't see any government or any department having the capacity to do that. I think what would probably be the best advice would be to tailor any kind of financial moves at the people who are energy poor, the people who are going to struggle to meet their energy costs this winter. Older people, people on social welfare, people who don't have the money to handle a €500 price hike. And there's a whole lot of people who just won't be able to afford it. And it would be just a very miserable thing to think that, there will be people at home this winter sitting in the cold because they can't afford to heat their homes. And that's why I think if the government, in the first instance, was to do anything, it should be doing something for those people who, as I say, will really struggle to pay their bills on time or even at all this winter.
Conor Pope, Price Watch editor with the Irish Times. Conor, a pleasure as always, and thanks a million for joining us.